you guys, like, the guy who, approaches you and he doesn't look like he's your type, or he doesn't seem like the type of person who you would go for, try that guy.
Wow.
Because it might be him.
It's better with us two. We're better together.
What's going on, everybody? This is the podcast of us, the Better Together people.
Welcome back, everybody.
I'm Brydon Brett.
I'm Mina Brett.
And we are
better together.
That's right, man. Episode 29. Welcome to the pod. If you are just joining us, we thank you so much. This podcast is all about bridge building in every area of life. We're here to make bridge building sexy for the first time. Talk about faith, relationships, just bridge building in all areas of life, particularly faith, but also cultural, ethnic, racial, all that kind of stuff. And we love talking about Jesus, all the things. We want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting the podcast through listening and following and watching, also in financial donations and everything. If you want to, support, go to brettertogether.com/donate. Also, if you want to make suggestions for topics or questions that we could cover on the pod, that's also on our website, brettertogether.com/podcast. And there's a donation button there. A suggestion button. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. Goodness gracious. We're good. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, we're going cruising, y'all. You got to cruise with us next February. It's in February, but the way these cruises work, you got to get in way ahead of time. Okay,
so way ahead of time.
But it's gonna be like a marriage retreat, and so we'll invite all of our married friends to come out with us and cruise. We'll do a couple workshops and then just chilling. So it's gonna be super fun. Anyway, how you doing, babe?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. You look good tonight.
You look good.
Whoa.
I like it when you wear black.
Yeah, thank you. I like it when you wear camo. So
thanks.
Yeah, cool. And it is night. Yeah, it is. I said tonight.
Yeah,
it's Friday night. It's a Friday night for us.
This is our date.
This is our date night. Yeah,
this is our date night.
So we're gonna do our date night tomorrow night. But it's been a good week. We've been working really hard on a lot of things. Multiple projects going on. Quick life update. What's going on with us? What you got over there, babe?
What do I got over here?
Obviously, Better Together. A lot going on.
All
Better
the things
Together.
with Better Together.
A lot under the surface. We're working on the courses and ebooks and this cruise, and the pod. But yeah, there's a lot under the surface there. I think we should be able to come out with some good stuff here pretty soon. So I'm excited about that. Maybe some merch.
Yeah, like if you guys want merch, you should tell us what you want. Like, do you want a t-shirt? Somebody said something about a mug. Do you want us to put stuff on a mug? I don't know. Let us know what you would buy.
Yeah.
Because we want to add value to your lives. We don't just want to be selling stuff to be selling it. So if there's something that you would like to see in the Better Together merch store, head on over to brettertogether.com and drop them suggestions. We are willing and able to listen. Oh, also, you could just comment on this video. It's not that big of a deal.
That's a fact. Okay, what else? Better Together's popping and doing well.
Yeah, I just released a single called Bad Woman.
Bad Woman. Yeah.
It's a bluesy type of song.
She wrote it.
I wrote it. Yes. And my sister and my uncle kind of put the music to it. And yeah, it was a great little tune.
Yeah.
And
got more coming.
More of them coming. There's one in the pipeline right now that we will be releasing soon, and we'll probably, I don't know, maybe we should talk about that one because it's about you.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh, I'm doing a concert.
Oh yeah, and that's gonna be live streamed, so y'all can tune in and see Mina in action. She and Miles Mann, incredible pianist, organist, just keys, like he does keys, like he's great. And the two of them together is magic. So what's the date on that? April 3rd?
I think it's April 3rd.
April 3rd. Yeah, it's April 3rd. Thursday night, April 3rd.
It'll be live streamed, so we will make sure that we give you guys that information.
Yep.
It'll be on both of our socials, our individual socials. We probably drop it on our Brother Together socials as well. And we can put it in the community page here, here on YouTube. So we'll let you guys know. You guys could definitely purchase a little live stream ticket and watch it. A lot of times you guys are like on different sides of the country, different sides of the globe, you know. So if you're in another country, you're in a completely different time zone or whatever. It's, you know, when you buy a live stream ticket, you don't necessarily need to be on when it's live. There is a certain amount of time. I don't remember how much time, but there's a certain amount of time after the concert airs that you'll still be able to watch it.
Yeah.
So there's that. So if you really want to see it, you can. You
should, and you definitely should. So there's that. So Mina's got music. I got some stuff popping with Prince Ivan. We're about to start. We're doing this thing because we released this album pre-COVID, and then COVID just like, you know, killed the momentum for us. And so we're resurrecting our 5-year-old album to market it the way we should have 5 years ago to see if it goes. Because the album goes hard. Like, it's a really good album.
It's really good.
So, yeah, so that'll be fun. And then we'll release some new music after we've kind of done that little experiment on the pre-COVID album. We'll see if we can get the momentum going on again for Prince Ivan, which is a great project. Like, it's really cool. And my buddy Aaron and I were like, we're bros for life. I'm doing a lot of hosting. Like I make professional event MC. The King Will Come has a lot moving.
A lot.
We're doing a ton with that. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, ish. There's always more.
There's still more.
There's stuff. There's so much more going on. So that's just professional stuff. But but yeah, Davin's doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to come with us.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to go to the podcast. I want to go to the podcast.
Yeah.
And I said, you already went with us. And that seemed to be a good explanation for him. Like, oh, I already went? Yeah, you already went.
Yeah. So he was good.
He's like, okay.
He's the cutest, man. So, all right. So today's episode, we have received so many comments and questions from people, from all of you, and we haven't taken the time in the podcast to address many of those, and we want to do that. So we want you to know that we're listening. We've based entire episodes on some of your questions, and this one we're going to base it on however many questions we can get through. We might get to one that just is like a sweet spot, and we're just going to stay on that for a while. We might address 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, who knows. So we're just going to kind of go at it. I've got one that I like, you got one that you like, and then see where we're at. And then if we have enough time to do another 1 or 2, that's what we'll do today. But I think this should be really interesting because y'all have some great questions. So I'm good to jump in, baby. You good to jump in?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have one that you're thinking that would be good to kick off with?
I don't know if it's a kickoff one. I just have
Let's go. Let's go. We'll let you go first. Ladies first, you know.
Oh, thanks. You're such a gentleman.
Tell me.
Okay. So this question came from someone, I think her name is Naya. Her handle is Kisses Naya on Instagram.
Okay.
So I'm thinking her name is Naya or Nia. She says, why are... Okay, I'm going to have to rephrase this because I don't... Okay. I think this is what she means. Why are the godly men not pursuing godly women the way they should be, or / used to? I'll try that again. And I just wanted to ask you, because you're a man, like maybe you have some insight that, you know, some of us ladies aren't seeing. But
Lord,
she asks, why are the godly men not pursuing godly women the way they should be, or the way they used to?
Why are the godly men not pursuing godly women the way they used to or the way they should be?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Ooh.
I mean,
That's
I thought I'd ask you
rough.
because you're a guy. So I'm like, well, let's ask a guy. Maybe you have a
Okay.
question. I mean, maybe you have an answer for us.
What do you think she means by godly men?
Men who genuinely love God and follow Him, and want to be like Him and want to serve Him. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what she
Okay,
means.
so godly men like
or even
that.
like, I don't know, men in church. I don't know. I think that she means men who love God and who like genuinely love God, who are chasing Him, who want to, do what He says and actually pattern their lives after His word and that kind of thing. I'm making probably a pretty large assumption, but an assumption that that's what she means.
Yeah. This is.
What do you think? It doesn't need to be like anything deep and wonderful, but like you're a guy,
Yeah, well, I think there's.
Why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, well, I think that just in general, we're the our whole society. I as you know, if you've been listening to any recent episodes, I'm big on John Mark Comer right now and the ruthless elimination of hurry, his book The Practicing the Way, and he details this idea of being hurry sick, that we are in a hurry sick society, that you can like, and I'm going to confess I have hurry sickness, and I'm seeking to overcome it. And so I say that to say that I think to find a truly godly man in our culture, in our social media driven culture, and the hurry culture, and a capitalistic, money driven culture, that's actually really hard to find someone who's truly centered on God. Because I think a lot of men who look like they're godly on the outside are not godly on the inside.
Ooh.
And same with women, because like attracts like. And I think, I don't know what the data is that she's going off of, but it certainly seems like what she says is true.
Yeah.
But I think if we're judging by outward appearances, I think maybe that's, I don't know. I just think like you have a lot of churchy people. Just because they go to church doesn't mean, you know what I'm saying, that that they're godly and that's what's really in their hearts. Because I think hearts ultimately align. So I think men struggle today with serving the twin gods of of God or mammon. Like they struggle with both, and I don't know if they're. I think there's that component, and then I think a lot of guys who are godly and attractive aren't often attracted outwardly to women who look godly, because I think sometimes, let me just say it.
Just say it.
Sometimes godly men and godly women, it I don't want to say it because it sounds so like judgy.
Say it.
But like, but it's like kind of look a little. It's like you have to. There's like a certain amount of cheese or corn or something that you have to be in order to be a godly man or a godly woman. And a lot of times a man who's godly, this woman she could be doing all the right things, but there's something about the outside that he's not attracted to. And women the same way toward men, and so I think, I don't know how you balance that, because I'm kind of in this like, this journey, I'd rather live a simple life, but I mean, like, you're mad stylish, but you don't often find a woman who looks like you who's truly godly. You know what I'm saying? Like, who has, so to balance the stylishness and the savvy and the charisma and all that with godliness, a lot of times it's kind of hard. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a rare find, So I don't know exactly how to say what I'm saying without offending people. And I might be totally wrong,
Well,
because at the end of the day, I'd rather be godly then look cool. I don't care about looking cool, but I do care about looking cool. I think a lot of godly men do, you know? And so maybe I'm like off, like I'm just wrong, you know, for that, you know? And maybe I just need to repent and just live a much more simple life and not care about things and look homely, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your answer to this question? This is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to nail down like one definitive answer to this question because I feel like the answers are myriad, especially when it comes to like people looking godly and people actually being godly.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we don't need to separate them, but sometimes that really is the thing. Like, especially a lot of the people that I grew up around, not necessarily grew up around like in my church, but just in the church, you know, community, I guess you could say. I know that we shouldn't be expecting church people to be like perfect.
No.
Right.
No.
But sometimes I feel like, Paul, like some of the stuff, brothers and sisters, these things ought not to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Some stuff just don't belong in church. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. I understand that the church is the hospital for the sick and all that stuff. But somebody said it like, don't marry somebody just because you met them in church.
Yeah.
Because the church is a hospital for the sick. And some of the people are not responding to treatment.
Whoa.
And so, right, going to church and them going to church doesn't necessarily make them godly. And sometimes I think women who are godly, who are in church, who are trying to do the best that they can to do whatever it is the Lord has told them to do, a lot of times they'll be in church and they'll see homeboy coming in with the best fit on, with the lineup, with the, you know what I'm saying? And he's, looking great and, carrying his Bible around and looking like, okay, he's actually godly. And then when you look at what he's chasing, it's the loosest woman in the church, or it's, some girl who doesn't even actually love God and came to church for him.
Loosest is crazy.
Listen, it beat him once and they come to church. Some of them come to church just to find a man. Yeah. It's a thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then you see that type of behavior being rewarded and you're like, well, if this is what godly men are after, how can I compete? And I don't think that is really the mindset that we need to be having, because if homeboy or whoever, like if the person that you are interested in looks godly, but you can see his appetites and his desires in who he is pursuing, if you can view and look at the person he's after and she ain't nothing like you because she may not really be godly, then he may not really be godly. You know what I'm saying? Because you were saying like attracts like. And so I'm just like, sometimes what you're perceiving is not godliness. It's a form of godliness, denying the power thereof. Godliness that looks cute, but it don't got no power. Yeah. And this is why I wanted somebody who could pray for me when I couldn't pray for myself. Because I'm like, look, like, I don't want you to look godly if you don't got no power. You don't necessarily look godly. You don't look churchy. You don't.
Oh, yeah. I don't look godly, though.
You don't look churchy, I guess. I feel like when people say godly, they mean churchy.
Right. I think that's
kind
of what I'm picking up off of this question.
It's like, how come the guys that I go to church with don't like the girls who they go to church with? And it's like a lot of these fellas be like on the TikTok, on the OnlyFans, sliding in the DMs and doing all of this stuff they ain't got no business because their heart is not toward God. Dang. If their heart is not toward God, even if they look godly, they are not godly. Yeah. And so they're not going to see you. And that's difficult. That's like, I have a hard time with even answering this question because I know that she's right, because they're not there. The problem, I think, is also one of the layers of problems, I guess, I think, is that a lot of guys in church or that go to church or whatever, like, they want their woman to be godly, like you said. They do. But they also want her to look like something. Like,
Yeah.
they want to be attracted. And they might not, because guys are so visual, they might not even be attracted to you enough to get to know how godly you are or how holy you are because you look like Holly Hobby.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And there's that scripture, right? Man looks on the outward appearance, God looks on the heart. That's not just saying, oh, be like God and look on the heart. You can't see the heart. Only God could do that. God could show you somebody else's heart. He could give you insight. But what you are left with is what is on the outside. That is to say that the outward appearance is still important.
For humans.
For humans, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we disregard it because we like either or. We don't like the and, right? So it's like, oh, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart. So I'm not. And women are like, well, he should just see me the way for what I am and love me for what I am. I'm sorry, but men are visual, sis.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if you gonna go fishing, you need to bring bait.
Wow. Yeah.
Listen,
this is a hot take.
The scripture said we need to be fishers of men.
Oh my gosh.
That's totally taken out of context. I was hitting for those of you who are like so theological. Anyway, yeah. I just really think, that's part of it. It's not all of it, because I've been on TikTok lately and I'm like, some of these girls is leading Bible study. They giving advice. They doing everything they big enough to do in Christ. It's beautiful. And they are hot. Like, they are gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The sisters seem to be picking up on, okay, let me make sure my appearance is on par. Let me make sure that everything is up to par. But I don't know. It seems like those type of women, even if they are godly, attract men that aren't.
Right.
So I don't know. This is a really hard question to answer because there's so many answers to it. I think a lot of the men who appear to be godly are not.
Yeah.
And a lot of the men who are godly don't appear to be somebody you want to look at. So maybe you need to give Poindexter a try. Maybe you need to have Bible study with the nerd, You know what I'm saying? Maybe you shouldn't be looking at, Rico Suave. Maybe you need to be looking at Richard.
Richard Suave.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It may have to do with preferences too, because a lot of times, guys who look like they have it all together and look like they're really following God. Mm-hmm. If you look like you trying and they're not interested at all, like nobody, then it might not be you. It might be them.
Right.
It might be you and your preferences. Have you tried? Whew. I mean, specifically to Naya, like, what you've been looking for? What you've been looking at? What's your list look like? Is it a whole bunch of physical attributes? Because the Lord might give you what you want in packaging that you're not expecting, and you need to consider that.
Mm-hmm. Because we weren't the packaging that we were expecting.
I mean, I was more the packaging than you were, but
more.
That's true.
Yeah, but if I'd have locked myself into what I thought, you were supposed to be, I think I would have missed you.
Same. Same.
So I'm grateful for the flexibility. I'm grateful that I've learned how to, surrender how God's going to do it and when he's going to do it, and just trust that he's going to do it and it's going to be better, but I've had to surrender certain preferences, as it were, and just align those things with him. And it's kind of an ethereal, kind of hard to express and explain how to do that. But just from spending time with him, I just some of that stuff just kind of washed away and
That's so
and
true.
died, that used to matter so much to me, and I was able to let it go and, really focus on what mattered, but it was a process. It was like 5 years for us to the point where we felt like we could get married. And there are a lot of things we always kind of blame it on the whole religious thing, that we didn't have that in common or whatever, had to work out our religious differences. But there was also both of us chiseling away at ourselves and at the image we created of what our spouse is going to be, and becoming the types of people who could be, together and truly be a kingdom marriage, So I don't know. It's interesting.
I saw this lady on TikTok the other day, and she was kind of abrasive, and she was funny. And she was talking about how she almost overlooked her husband because she was so used to, going after a certain type of guy.
Yeah.
And she said, you guys, like, the guy who, approaches you and he doesn't look like he's your type, or he doesn't seem like the type of person who you would go for, try that guy.
Wow.
Because it might be him. She was like, a lot of people that I know, their type is not even like the person who they're, supposed to be with. And usually the person they're supposed to be with, the person that they're most compatible with, doesn't look like their type at all. I firmly believe, personally, that your type is a decoy. Often. Not always. But a lot of times, if the enemy knows what works, he's just going to keep dishing it. He's just going to keep sending, just so you're distracted.
Yeah.
So when the right thing, when the real thing comes along, you so caught up in somebody who can't see you that you don't see them. Like you can't recognize it. It's not even like, I think the name of the game, especially in dating, when it comes to the enemy, like just trying to keep people from meeting somebody who could actually like help them build kingdom and everything, like actually be a godly marriage and everything. I think the name of the game for the enemy, at least, is distraction. Like he's just gonna keep, throwing you decoys, and if you fall for the type thing, that's another thing. Like a lot of women, like even Christian women, like to date somebody because they a certain sign, and they won't date somebody else who's not that sign, and all that is. Sis, your sign is the cross. First of all, hot take. Second of all, the Lord can do a lot of things, and sometimes people they don't line up with these signs and stuff. They don't have the same personality. I've heard that before too. Like, oh, you kind of act like a such and such, but you're not. And then to explain that, we got the Mars and the such and such and all this stuff. And it's just like, like we need to get out of our boxes. Like, just get out the box, because it might just be that the guy who's looking for you and the guy that you're like wanting to be with and just don't know it yet, like he's not what you expected at all. Priscilla Shirer, she did. Why can't I say her name right now? Priscilla Shirer, she did this podcast a while back, and she was talking about how when she met her husband, she did not like him, and she did not think that they was gonna be together. And he had, conviction and a word from the Lord, and he just knew, like, yeah, that's her. And he thought that they could be something, and she was like, no. She was already, head over heels with somebody else and not worried about him or whatever. And I don't remember all the details, but I think at one point she asked the Lord, like, hey, if this person is for me, can you put the desire for him in my heart? And she said the next day she woke up and she was on board. And it's just like, sometimes it's about how we pray about it too. Because the Lord could be sending you the person. The godly man could be after you. He could be pursuing you, and you could be like, not him, Lord. Why the godly men not pursuing the godly women? I don't know you, Naya. I don't know what's going on in your life. I'm just saying, maybe adjust your preferences a little bit. That might help.
Yup. I have 2 points.
Make them.
I shall make them. All right. Point number 1. We need to remember that humans have existed without algorithms for thousands of years.
Amen.
And we are so obsessed with finding the profile that matches our profile and using these algorithms, Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and all these things to pair us with the perfect compatible mate. We need to remember that God is the ultimate algorithm.
Yes.
And he understands the layers beneath what's on the surface that shows up on a profile that you consciously can put in a profile. He understands those layers underneath it, and he understands those layers underneath your partner. And you might think that you need something because it looks like you match up. You might be searching for something preferential, you know what I'm saying, that matches on the outward, but the Lord does know the heart. And so you really do have to open yourself up. So that's why we always talk about, if you pursue God and that other person is pursuing God, then if you're near God and you're with God, then those things about you that need to be shaved off your character and shaved off of your flesh and everything else will get shaved off, and you will come into a oneness. I don't know, it's a spiritual thing, man. So I think that's a good thing to look at. But yeah, man, we got along just fine without algorithms.
That's so true.
You know, in many ways, right? And so don't be so dependent on those things.
Yeah.
And don't look for just because we're so obsessed with that, you know, because we have that ability now. Just remember that God, he's the ultimate technology. So
Amen. That reminds me of this joke. God really does know what you like. He knows what you like, even if you're not sure what you like.
Right.
Even if you think you know what you like.
Right.
Like, he knows what you like on a level that you can't begin to fathom because he made you, right? Yeah. Like, you are exactly what I like so many different ways. I like you. And it just made me think of this joke. I don't even remember where it's from, but it's, the Lord is my shepherd. He know what I want. You remember that?
No.
I can't remember who said it. It's a man. He saw a woman walk by and he's like, "Ooh, the Lord is my shepherd. He know what I want."
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But he does.
Yes,
it's not just like, I shall not want. Like, he does know what you want. Even if you're not sure, even if you don't know, he knows what you want. He knows what you need, and he knows how to make those things like coincide.
Yeah. I agree. And so that leads me to point 2, because we're all about bridge building. So part of that is finding the and the both in the middle of the either and the or, you know? And so what we were talking about earlier, I wrote a book a long time ago, and I uncovered this idea from Stephen R. Covey. So Stephen R. Covey talked about the personality ethic and the character ethic. That self-help, he studied all the self-help literature in American history and noticed this pattern that prior to a certain time, I think in the 1930s, 40s, somewhere around there, when the industrial age really began, there was this trend of what he would call character ethic self-help literature, where Benjamin Franklin's and other people talked about character traits like being humble, being patient, being loyal, and that's how you became successful in the world. Then there became this flip to the personality ethic, where it became more about what you do than who you are, and became more about techniques, tactics, and methods to manipulate and get what you want and to sell and persuade people. And so how to win friends and influence people is a lot of that's based on character stuff, but a lot of it's technique. But that kind of was like at that hinge point. And since then you find like that's where it is. Like, so we kind of got away from that. And so I've learned, and the point that I brought out in the book was this idea that you need to have both the personality ethic and the character ethic. Basically, you need to have skills and you need to have character. You need to have heart and art. You need to have that X factor you know? I think the X factor is when you bring those things together.
Yeah.
And so I remember writing about this American, or I think it was The Voice or America's Got Talent, one of those talent shows. And this lady, she got up there and she had all of us. She had the story, had come through incredible hardship, had just like overcome all the challenges, and you could just sense her faith, sense the depth of her character. It was heart-wrenching. I think she, lost loved ones and been homeless and all these things, but now she's here in front of the judges and she's about to sing in front of everybody. And I was like, wow. So she had the story. You could tell she had the characters like baked in. And I was like, wow, I want her to win this thing, right? I really wanted her to win it. And then she opened her mouth to sing, and it was okay. You know what I'm saying? The story and the character had brought me so far to where I wanted her to win. I'm sure all of America wanted her to be the one, but then her skills couldn't match the character.
Right.
The personality ethic and character ethic didn't mesh together into that X factor, that unexplainable thing. She had something so special, but the skills weren't there. And so I liken that to what we're talking about with the godly man, godly woman thing. Like, I think there is an and I think we're seeing it more and more. It's always a touchy thing, but what does spirituality really look like, And I think we have an image of what spirituality looks like, what godliness looks like, but I don't think, I would challenge whatever image you have out there. I would just challenge whatever image you have about what you think godliness looks like, because if the Lord looks on the heart, there's a lot of stuff going on in people's heart, and there are a lot of people who are more godly than you think, and a lot of people who are less godly than you think, because you're judging on the outward appearance. And I think you can be both like swaggy and savvy and super spiritual at the same time. And I think we have a lot of examples of people who are doing that well now, because for so long as believers, it was be in the world, but not of the world. But it was really be not of the world, hate the world. But that's not how God views the world. The world is a way of doing things. Babylon in Scripture is a way of doing things that defines a culture that is countercultural to God. But God actually so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. He actually loves the world, and he loves excellence. He loves beauty. He loves all of the things that we chalk up to Satan. Those are counterfeits of what God actually created. And so I think we're stepping into this time where we're seeing believers step into positions of authority and power and influence and being leaders in the world, and balancing that character ethic and that personality ethic. I think it's a beautiful thing. And so I think maybe you have a distorted view of what godliness looks like. I think I think you can have both, but there is a way to do it. You're not going to achieve what I'm talking about by pursuing the world. You're going to achieve it by pursuing God with all your heart.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Doesn't that make sense? Like because God wants us to have, everything. He wants us to have inheritance. He wants us to have power. And I'm one of those guys who believes that he cares about culture.
Oh, for sure.
And I think he cares about how we engage with the world. And I heard this about inheritance. I thought this was interesting. That inheritance ultimately is like, it's real estate and, physical things, but God's inheritance, what he cares about most is us. And so an inheritance with God means that we get to inherit each other. You know what I'm saying? And so, so I think he cares about who we're becoming and how we engage with each other and with society. And I think excellence matters to him. So anyway, godliness, I don't think is what we think it is. It's probably not even what it's way more than what I'm saying even right now.
Oh, yeah.
My understanding is flawed, but those are some thoughts. I just know that. I just see that mentality, man. People like think that it has to look a certain way, and it doesn't have to look a certain way.
No, I mean, yeah, God's like the ultimate fashion designer. Like he knows how to tell you how to, you know, dress and what to wear and all the things. He's always telling me what to wear. I'll ask him. I'm like, Lord, tell me. He told me what to put on today.
Yeah.
And I almost put on something else. And then I was like, when am I gonna learn? He's always so good about helping me, figure out what to wear. So that kind of thing, like I've been seeing that trend too on social media, where a lot of young ladies who are trying to be more godly, the Lord is calling them to modesty in their dress. And they're like, putting out videos and stuff on how to dress modestly, but still be like an it girl. You know what I mean? And so
you can look good. You can look good and be good at the same time.
Yes. You know what? The tradition that I grew up in, I don't know about everybody else, but like there was like extra points if you looked like Holly Hobby.
Right.
Like the frumpier you looked, the closer you were to God, because you didn't care about such things. You cared about God more.
Right.
And it was just like,
right.
I just could never buy into that. I've heard people say, well, God doesn't care about that thing. It's too trivial. It's too much of a small, he doesn't care. He only cares about the big things. And I'm like, no, he does. He does care. Like, he'll perfect all things concerning you, the scripture says. If it concerns you, he'll perfect it.
Yeah.
He'll help you make it better. And if that's something that concerns you, for sure, he'll give you what to do about it. So, I don't know. We've been on this for a while, so.
No, it's good.
Anyway.
Because it's a good question.
It is a good question.
I will say,
because I be wondering wondering what the godly man is looking at too. Same.
Right.
And I think a lot of times them godly men is fighting with they sinful nature.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's true. And I've talked about that whole Hollywood detox thing. Our expectations are distorted because of what we see on TV, all the fast food, So.
Yep.
Interesting, man. Yeah. There's a lot more on that we could go on, but that's good. Good question, Naya. That was nice. Cool. Well, there we go. Great episode. No, I'm just kidding. I think we could probably do one more, though.
Okay.
You good with that? This is like switching gears for real, though.
Okay, we switching gears.
Let's talk about it. Doris. We got Naya. We got Doris. Doris, we love you. She comments on a lot of our videos on YouTube.
Hi, Doris.
We appreciate you. Just ask this question. I think a lot of people have the same question when they see our story. Do you each still follow your specific religion? And if so, how does that work?
I saw that one.
You did.
You said you weren't feeling deep and wonderful, so I didn't pick it. And then you're pulling out all these quotes and
listen,
flexing over there.
Flexing is crazy. So Doris, do you each still follow your specific religion? If so, how does that work? All right, so it is, I think everything, and we've said this before, but it's been a while, that I think we need to remind you that our mentality with this podcast is we are not coming from any position of superiority, condescension, or arrivedness.
I like the way you said that.
I heard someone say that the moment you think you've arrived, that's when you've departed. And we are not feeling that way. Like everything that we are doing is it's like a financial balance sheet. It's a picture of where we are in time. But we hope that our balance sheet changes later on because we've got more money. Our financial picture has changed. And so right now, I think we can share where we're at right now with the full realization that as we pursue God, it's going to change because it has to. I want to be transformed. There's certain things that are fundamental that I'm not willing to let go of. We've talked about some of those things. For me, the core of everything is Jesus and love, particularly the great commandments: love God, love self, love neighbor. The idea that God is love, I can't escape it. I feel like that's everything that my life is built on. It's the idea of Jesus and his incredible, unfathomable, radical love. That's what unites us. So I don't see that ever changing. He's my savior. I never see that changing. So, but what I see changing is my understanding and my relationship and the transformation I experience under his tutelage, being an apprentice under him. So I say all that to say, like, everything we were about to share, it could change, but
probably will.
Or yeah, it probably will. But I do. I've never. I kind of went through what would be called a faith crisis. It's kind of become a popular term in Latter-day Saint circles. Popular in the sense of just being able to describe what people are experiencing. A lot of people refer to faith crises or deconstruction, and reconstruction. That's been going on, at least publicly, and with a lot of people for like 10 years. The whole idea. And I definitely have gone through that, and maybe in some ways still going through that. But in all of that, even though I went through the exercise emotionally and spiritually, mentally, of leaving sacred beliefs behind and suspending them so that I explore other beliefs to compare, and I've really dug deep. I never stopped going to church every Sunday. I never stopped serving in what we call callings, which are our assignments. I was always faithful, and I always have been. I always attend. And there are certain things about the doctrine and the teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that I don't fully align with. And that's okay. I don't have to believe everything about it or practice everything about it to be a Latter-day Saint, to call myself a Latter-day Saint. There are certain things that I do that are unconventional, that are outside of the box for a Latter-day Saint, that other Latter-day Saints might look at me and think I'm not faithful. But I'm not doing it for them anyway. But I will say I think we stigmatize asking questions. We stigmatize doubting. And I've had questions and I've doubted, but it's only made me better. And I don't think we are supposed to look exactly like. And I challenge any Latter-day Saint or any Christian out there to honestly say that they believe 100% in the doctrine of their faith. Because if they did, if you truly believe it, then you would do it. And I can't say I believe entirely. I think it's true. I think it's good. But belief is a different thing. So I think that's maybe just like some semantics on words. But I just think there's room for different notes on the keyboard. There's a lot of room for different flavors and styles, and we can believe, similarly, but I just have not found any two people who believe exactly the same, regardless of their religious affiliation. So all that to say, yeah, I'm still a faithful Latter-day Saint. I'm still a card-carrying member, and I love so much about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm so grateful. I can honestly say, like, I'm an active member. And I have learned to receive truth and love and Jesus outside of that box. And it has blessed me tremendously. It's helped me to understand him way better. So that's worked really well for me. So that's kind of how that works for me. So on a Sunday, I'm currently a call it gospel doctrine instructor, and so every once in a while I get to teach the adults right now. So it's a really easy assignment. I've had more intense assignments that required a lot during the week and every Sunday, but that's not it right now, which is great.
Isn't it called Sunday school now?
Yeah, you're right. It's called Sunday school. Yeah, so I'm a Sunday school teacher, adult Sunday school. Yeah, but then I also do some work for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints outside of, you know, now that we're out here in Utah, the Lord brought us to Utah. I'm having more opportunities to do that. I have a few projects that I've worked on and am currently working on to help the church continue to move forward in cool ways. So yeah, that's how it works. We'll go to church. Mina goes with me. And then we'll typically watch Amazing Grace Apostolic Faith Church virtual. We haven't found a church home out here, and since we had David, it's become more difficult to want to get out of the house and to take him to 2 services on a Sunday. We used to do that, but we typically will get a Latter-day Saint service in and then watch virtual church. And so I love it. I get both, you know. There's a home. I feel a certain amount of recentering in home when I go to a Latter-day Saint service, because I'm so familiar with it, and there's certain things that just feel just great. But then I also really love being able to worship in a different style and receive from your family and faith tradition. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with religion. I think I am way more concerned right now. My summary statement: I am concerned with learning how to be a true apprentice of Jesus and a follower of the way, what was called the way. And I believe that could harmonize with my faith tradition really well. And there are certain revelations that the Lord has given through the Latter-day Saint movement that I haven't seen anywhere else that are pretty special. I think are part of the body of Christ. I think they add a lot of value. And it hurts me that that's a whole other question we'll have to deal with about the Christianity of Latter-day Saints. But it hurts me that a lot of Christians won't receive some of those truths because of the labels and the stereotypes they've put on Latter-day Saints. But there's some really important things I think the Lord is trying to reveal through all of the parts of the body, you know. I think we have a lot to contribute to the conversation. So, but I'm like on the search for all of it. I want all of Jesus. I want all of God. I want all of the truth. I want all the love. And I'll receive it from wherever He wants to give it. And I'm open to Him blowing my mind. He's already, if He's broken me out of my box so much to this point that I'm just like, okay, bro, there are certain things that I thought were like impossible at one time and now are just completely normal to me. And I'm sure there are certain things right now that I think are impossible that will be completely normal to me. I hope in another year or another 2. You know what I'm saying? So I'm open to how He's gonna continue opening my mind. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. What about you? Do you follow your do you still follow your specific religion?
I think it depends on who you ask. Because I grew up Apostolic Pentecostal, a very specific sect of the denomination.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's very heavy on the outward appearance, where you can look at a person and that's supposed to be able to tell you whether or not they're saved. And so if you were to look at me from that perspective, then you would be like, no, she ain't. She ain't apostolic no more.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom has asked me that before. So we ain't apostolic no more. And it's just like, sis. According to their definition, I would say I'm not. But when it comes to the doctrine, I haven't really budged from most of it. There's a couple of things that I think are gross misinterpretations of scripture, which is mostly the outer appearance stuff. And so I don't practice that. You know, I grew up, if you wear pants, you split in the pit. You don't wear pants.
Split in the
You
pit.
going to hell.
Oh, okay,
Going to
gotcha.
hell. You never heard overseer say that?
Split in the pit?
Yeah.
No. That I remember.
He says it often enough that you should remember it, but split in the pit, yes. So yeah, you don't wear pants, you don't wear makeup, you don't wear jewelry, you don't cut your hair. And the organization that I was in, there was even like something about having like Black women having braids.
Wow.
Yeah, having extension braids. It was a whole thing about that. So yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at it. But you know, my uncle grew up in a denomination, not a denomination, organization in the denomination that, you know, they didn't have no problem with jewelry and makeup, but they wore doilies on their head. A doily is like a, like a, you know, and there's still, like, to this day, I know so many people, like, this organizations, like, they have fancy ones, and they'll, you know, wear like basically like a veil or a doily on their head. Yeah. Listen, some of them things are cute too. I would wear it for the fashion, but
a doily.
No, I've seen some veils that are like really, really like just gorgeous.
Yeah.
They just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'll wear that. That's cute. But yeah, so some of them are like, oh, they just wear hats, you know, but you have to cover your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to standards, you could look at me and say that I'm not apostolic anymore. When it comes to those standards. But as far as doctrine and everything, that's why I'm still in contact with my home church back in New York. Still under watch care of the pastor. I mean, he's also my uncle, so there's that. But we remain connected, and it's because he believes in our mission as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so he's very supportive.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I guess maybe at some point we can talk about, you know, I mean, we have talked about it before.
About what?
Just like maybe some of the things that we agree, disagree, you know, with each other's denominations or whatever. But
yeah,
the reason we even will say denominations is because we follow Jesus, right? If we follow Jesus, we're Christian. Now that's up to debate because we bring in the Nicene Creed and all the different things, and all of a sudden the Catholic Church is who gets to decide who's Christian, and that's problematic for me. But yeah,
man, yeah,
there's a lot. I just, for me, I'm really just about following Jesus.
Yeah.
And more you meet more people who are like, listen, I just want to be close. I just want to get in relationship and intimacy with Jesus, and wherever he leads me, I want to go. Whatever he tells me to do, I want to do. And I'm really loving meeting so many people who are on that same path, who are on that same journey, who are just like, yeah, miss me with all the weird rules and denominational differences and all that stuff. Like, you follow Jesus? You follow Jesus? All right, let's walk towards him together. And if there's anything that any one of us does that is not him, we need to trust him enough to let him prune us and get rid of the things about us that are not like him. You know, like, as humanity, we're so often quoting that we are made in the image of God. But then you get to the New Testament and Paul says that we are transformed from glory to glory into his image. That's not a contradiction, because, and you know, I hear that often enough. The Bible contradicts itself. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of context that we don't really be reading for. We really don't. But that looks like a contradiction. In Genesis, Moses says we're made in his image, right? And then we get to the New Testament, it's like we're transformed from glory to glory into his image. Which one is it? Because in order to be transformed into his image, you have to start out not in his image. So how does that work? And I think, first of all, two things can be true. But also, by the time we get to Genesis 3, I think, 3 or 4, or is it 5? Is it 3 or 5?
It's probably 3.
Somewhere along that area.
Yeah.
By the time we get there, Adam is having children in his image after he's fallen. And so that's where we get the necessity to be transformed from glory to glory into his image, right? And with that, there's levels. It takes time from glory to glory, little by little, step by step. Like it doesn't just happen. Like we have to be transformed. And that's what I think a lot of people are after now. It's just like, a lot of the tribe that we're connecting with is like, how do we become like Jesus?
Yeah.
How do we reflect him into the world?
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm on right now.
Yeah.
Yes, I go to church with you, but it's because I'm a bridge builder. And I can't build a bridge if I don't examine the gap. That's not responsible of a bridge builder. How do we bridge a gap if we're not well acquainted with it? We don't know how big it is, how many miles it spans, how many, different types of materials we're going to have to use, what is needed in this specific bridge, what type of bridge it's going to be. How do we know that if we don't examine it?
Right.
So, I mean, one of the things that the Lord has told us is that we're trailblazers, and when you're a trailblazer, there ain't no trail. When you're a bridge builder, there ain't no bridge. There's just a gap, and you got to be the one to bridge it. And so, a lot of what we're doing doesn't have a manual for it because it's the first time somebody's doing it this way. So, we've had people say multiple different things about how we're wrong. And that's okay because you've never seen anybody do what we're doing. So there's nothing to judge it by.
Come on. Yeah, that's a fact. And I'm sure you would agree with me on this, that the people that we're attracted to, that are really trying to follow Jesus, they come from every walk of life and every denomination. And I'll even say this. I know we can talk about the Jesus part, but there are certain people who don't believe in Jesus who I think display him better than some people who do.
Yikes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's really, really crazy.
I do know what you're saying.
A crazy statement to make.
Yeah. But
it's true. And so being open to that has been beautiful. And we found we're out here in Utah, and we had all the stereotypes about Utah, but let me tell y'all, Utah is beautiful.
So
amazing gorgeous. Geography and geology and ecology and topography, whatever. Topography. All that stuff. But really amazing people. There are amazing people here, and I'm of the opinion that every person's amazing. So I'm not gonna do blanket statements. I'm loving this idea of parts theory lately, that there are parts of us that are broken, parts of us that are hurt and wounded, that need healing, but there are also parts of us that are healed and happy and whole simultaneously, and that no person should take on a full identity of I am broken, I am wounded, I am hurt, I am depressed, I am anxious, but parts of you are, and I think we all have parts that are broken, and we need to love each other from the parts of us that are broken to the parts of others that are broken, and from the parts of us that are healed to the parts of others that are broken, and all of those things, you know what I'm saying? And so I just am open to that idea that, man, I've fallen short of the glory of God just like everybody else. And why would I be arrogant because I believe in Jesus, or because I'm a Latter-day Saint and I have this or that truth and I have this testimony? Why would I be arrogant? All that means is I have certain parts of me that have maybe been healed, that are filled with light and love that other people might not have. But then I look at that same person, they have other parts that are healed and full of light and love that I don't have. And I just feel like we're so arrogant and so elitist and so exclusivistic sometimes. And I just don't want to be that way. And so I say all that to say, like, there's some beautiful people here in Utah. And there are people that are also broken, and just like anywhere else, man, we're just freaking human, you know?
Right. It's everybody's first time here.
Yeah.
We
We're just
need to give each other grace.
figuring that out. Yeah. Grace is the word, man. And so I find people who are on this wave, like we're talking about, who are Latter-day Saints. I find people on this wave, like that we interact with, who are Baptist and Pentecostal, and certain people who are on this wave who don't identify with any religion at all.
Yeah.
And I'm open to all of
rabbi.
that, right?
I'm like,
Right.
dude, let's have lunch because I want to
Yes.
pick your brain. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
Yes.
he doesn't believe in Jesus, but you know.
But parts of him are probably more whole than parts of you and parts of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, I'm down for it. So yeah, I guess we both do follow our religion still, but it looks different than it did. And I hope
it
it's
will keep looking different.
yeah. Yeah. And I think we found a foundation to build on. And so I would put Jesus, love, and I'd put grace in there. And this a posture of humility. Just really being humble about where I'm at in the journey, where you're at in the journey, and just having so much grace and love for each other, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not the easiest thing to walk out, because we live with a life of labels and stereotypes, and I'm constantly fighting that. So I think that's kind of the theme, you know, of our podcast after all is said and done. We didn't really have one going into this, but, you know, Naya talking about, you know, godly men, godly women, the whole thing. I think the whole theme of outward appearances and labels is coming from this for me. Like, it applies to your relationships. It applies to your relationship with God, and everything else. So yeah, man, this was good. I think that's it. I think we've gone a good
Mm-hmm.
good amount today. Any final thoughts that you want to share with our wonderful audience?
You guys really are wonderful. We love you. I think the word, at least in the Greek for godliness, one of the synonyms, one of the words that's used to describe it is holiness. And holiness in Hebrew is kadosh or kadesh. And it's this picture of set apartness to God. To God, by God, and for his purposes. And when we think of Jesus and him being the most holy, you know, the house, one of the words for son in Hebrew, it derives from a word that means house. Jesus is the house of God. You know, him being the most holy of human beings. I think that's what we should be looking for in godliness and pursuing in our own godliness is holiness, and not just looking holy, but being holy, being a house of God, being a place where he can live and dwell and stretch out and show his power to transform and renovate his house from a cottage to a palace. I think that's how we gauge holiness in others. If you spend any amount of time with them and you see them transforming before your eyes, you see the Lord inhabiting more and more of their house. If you see the transformation, that's one way we can gauge holiness, not on the outward appearance, but on the actions, by their appetites and what they're attracted to, and how they treat others, how much they act like the original God house, like Jesus, and if we're all trying to become houses of God, we're all trying to act like the sons of God we are supposed to be, then what we will make is a neighborhood of palaces, a kingdom neighborhood.
Come
on. The compound of a king.
Yeah.
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 Where anyone is welcome to turn over the deed of their house to the one who can transform it into a palace. And I think we're all so afraid of how someone else's holiness looks. It might not look like theirs. It might not look like yours. We're so afraid of that we miss the point entirely. Maybe this is a different wing of the palace. Maybe it's, maybe it's a completely different style of architecture. Like, you're not really in charge of the renovations once you sign the deed over, Yeah. So I just think holiness is the gauge, and it's maybe not what we're thinking. It's not just looking holy, it's being holy.
Yeah. Yes. And let's remember that God is love. That's the metric. Love is the metric of all the things. At the end of the day, love is the metric, and it's not that complicated. Love is love. You know what I'm saying? Like, love, there are a lot of layers to it, but if you're growing in love for God, yourself, and your neighbor, and this earth steadily, then you're I think you're on the right path. But I feel like we could focus on a lot of things, even knowing the Bible and going to church and all of the accoutrements of piety. But if you have not love, you're a sounding brass, a tinkling cymbal. You can exercise all the gifts. You can heal, and you can prophesy, and you can exercise power and even demonstration. And all those things are beautiful and wonderful, but if you have not love, right? So I think that's the metric. That truly is. And I believe that if we got that, then I think we might hasten the coming of the Lord.
Or at least be on time for when he gets here.
Yeah, so anyway, there's that. Good stuff, man. You're the best.
Thanks for asking your questions, people.
Keep them coming.
We appreciate that, because it means that you guys are actually watching and that you're rocking with us, that you're actually like following along, and we're so grateful for it. You're the best too. I love you.
Thanks, babe.
We know that some of y'all might have fast forwarded. Some of y'all are still here for a reason, right? You came because you wanted us to leave you with a smile on your face, and we're not going to disappoint you, are we?
No, the pressure is crazy. No, I have two final thoughts. Because we're talking about, the God house and, our Father, God being our Father and everything. And it just reminded me that he has a sense of humor.
He does.
And, I think our Father would have great father jokes. We call them dad jokes. And so I was just curious if you knew what's the best way to save your dad jokes in a database.
Okay.
We were also talking about being transformed from glory to glory into the image of God, and that whole thing, like mirrors, just made me think about that. Do you know where rainbows go when they've been bad? To prism.
I was going to say rainbow prism.
So they have time to reflect on what they've done. Yikes. That didn't make me smile. Like, I don't know what that's doing for you out there, but anyway, we love y'all. When I read them, I'm like, man, that was going to be a lot funnier, but it didn't work out that way. All right. We love y'all. Thank you so much for watching and everything else, man. Listen, follow, subscribe, all the things, man. We'll be back in the next episode. Episode 30 is coming up next. Crazy.
Crazy.
All right. Love y'all.
Love
Peace.
you guys.